Welcome to the Career Transition Workshop. We hope that you now have moved on by properly parting from your last place of employment, gained a proper perspective toward your search, set the proper pace for the race to the finish, and decided to be properly pointed at your future focal point. Now, we will begin a 3-part mini-series on resumes and other correspondence to help you prepare to be properly packaged. In Session 3, our focus will be on resumes, both verbal and written. In Session 4, we will look at correspondence you need before and after interviews, such as cover letters, thank you notes, and reference listings. We hope each of you, by the end of each session, learns something that helps you in your search. We have divided this session into 3 parts. Part 1 is packaging pointers, where we hope the outcome is to lay a foundation by talking about packaging pointers, key concepts on how to properly package yourself for the job search. Part 2 is the verbal resume. Here the outcome is to cover the 2-minute verbal resume. We want you to be prepared for when someone says, "Hey, tell me a little bit about yourself." The key words there are "a little bit." Part 3 is the written resume, where the outcome is to cover the 2-page written resume. You'll walk away with some new insights on what makes the perfect resume. So let's begin with Part 1, packaging pointers, where we look at ways to win the work you want. So ask yourself, do the best people end up being the ones who win the work that they want? Are the best people always the ones who get hired? Think about that. The answer is no. So you ask, why not? Well, often it is not the best person, not even the most qualified person who gets the offer. Most times it is the one who knows how to best package themselves, best promote themselves, and best pitch themselves. In the language of business, we would say that the person with the best advertising, marketing, and selling skills is who gets the business. In the language of job search, the person with the best resume, networking skills, and interviewing skills is who will get the offer. For the next 3 sessions, we will concentrate on resumes and other packaging items. Then, following these sessions, will be 2 sessions concentrating on networking and the other search management techniques. Then there will be 3 sessions concentrating on interviewing. So resumes, networking, interviewing, advertising, marketing, selling, packaging, promoting, pitching. We'll cover all. Think for a moment about all the changes that have taken place in the marketplace and with corporate America over the last several decades. There are many examples that might come to mind, such as advances in information technology and communications, flattening of the world and the advent of outsourcing, shifts from a product to a service economy. Likewise, the design and use of resumes has evolved from our grandparents' generation to today. During the 50s and 60s, resumes reported activities and tried to answer the question, what were your roles and responsibilities? What did you do? In the 70s and 80s, resumes reported not only activities, but also achievements, and tried to answer the question, what results did you produce? What have you done, accomplished? In the 90s up to the 2000s, resumes not only reported activities and achievements, but also attributes, and tried to answer the questions, who are you? How do you develop your relationship with others? Today, every hiring authority needs to know two things about you. Who you are, we'll say that's your being, and what you do, we'll say that's your doing, which gets us around to the famous doobie-doobie-doo philosophy of life, or two pillars of self-promotion. Stephen Covey, the son of the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, has authored his own book entitled The Speed of Trust. He notes that trust is built on these same two pillars, competence and character, your doing and your being, what you've done and who you are. God differentiates between our being and our doing. Who you are is God's gift to you. What you do, what you make of yourself, what you make of His gift to you is your gift to Him in return. Self-promotion then is telling people about your achievements and attributes, your performance and your personality. If you fail to sell both competence and character, you will lose the sale, because hiring authorities need to trust you before they hire you. So the best thing you can do to properly package yourself is to build yourself an attributes achievement arsenal. So let's start right now developing such an arsenal. It has two components. The first is attributes. Let's begin there. Letting people know who you are. You know, people like to label people. It's easy. It serves as a code or shorthand. So let's provide them labels of our own. But coming up with attributes that best describes who you are is tough. You know, why so tough? Well, some of you will say that Mama told me never to brag about myself. May I remind you one more time, your mama has a job and you don't? And in order to get a job, you will need to tell people the truth about you, and that's not bragging. It's simply telling the truth. Another reason it's hard is that we just don't normally think about who we are. Have you ever gone to some party where people there don't really know you? Someone walks up and introduces themselves, and then typically will ask you, what? Think about it. Yeah, they'll ask you, what do you do? See, our focus is more on what we do rather than who we are. Imagine if some person asked you, who are you? Who are you really? I mean, it would sound a little strange, and unless I guess you're from California. So, what is an attribute? Typically, it is a 1 to 2 word phrase that best describes you, best describes who you are. It could be a single word like an adjective such as innovative, or like a noun such as innovator. It could be 2 words in combination such as results generator or generates results. Or maybe 2 word combinations such as leader/pioneer or creator/innovator. You know, try to develop about 4 to 6 key attributes. And here's a hint. When you're developing your attributes, it is going to be hard work. It requires some real soul searching, some real fact facing, some real truth telling. Dig down deep and don't settle for borrowing attributes of others unless they really fit you. So if you're having trouble coming up with attributes, where do you dig? Well, here are some sources. First, personality profiles. Perhaps you've taken some form of a personality profile in the past. For example, the DISC or Myers-Briggs or the Berkman or the Core Map or 16PF or StrengthsFinder or any number of valid assessments. If you have, and you agree that they describe you well, then examine them carefully for descriptive words. Secondly, past performance reviews. One of your past employers might have conducted periodic performance reviews. Look at the positive side of those appraisals, where you might have exceeded expectations. Again, these might be good descriptors, good attributes of who you are. And then there's always people. Who knows you well enough at home or at work? It can be another good source. For example, ask your spouse to think of a couple of words that best describe you. They might sit there and go, let me think. Okay, yeah, here's one, couch potato. No. From a professional point of view is what we're looking for. So you might want to ask past coworkers. You might be surprised what it was about you that they really respected the most. Once you've finished building the attribute side of your arsenal, then let's move on to your achievements. Letting people know what you've done, what you have accomplished. Here is the reason why achievements are so important. People don't value the product. They value the product of the product. Let me say that again. People don't value the product. They value the product of the product or what the product can do for them. In other words, people don't value a product's features and functions. They value what the product will produce for them, how it will benefit them, or what's in it for them. What's in it for them? WIIFT. In a job search, this means that hiring authorities don't value your talents, which I define as the sum of all your gifts and all your skills. They really value the product of your talent, and that's your achievements. Likewise, for those of us who call ourselves Christians, people don't value your faith. That's the words, what you say. They value the product of your faith, your works, what you do. James even reminds us of this when he says, "For just as a body without the Spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead." So tell people about your achievements. Claim your contributions to the company, which you can express in several ways. But first, tell people about your individual contributions, things that happen for which you were personally responsible. Hey, you did it. Things were bad. You came in. Things got better. You made the difference. Well, some of you are going to say you can't think of anything that you individually accomplished. That's okay. You were part of a whole, part of a team. You played a role, and therefore you can claim your part of the team's success. You can claim a collaborative achievement. For example, you might have provided sales support to a sales force that tripled sales. Claim it. Or perhaps you worked for a company who introduced over a dozen new products last year. Claim it. We did it, and you were part of we. So we have individual contributions, we have collaborative achievements, and finally, you can claim cumulative achievements. Sometimes moving from job to job, company to company, dilutes the real impact of our lifetime achievements. For example, let's say you managed 3 projects of Company A, 5 for Company B, 4 for Company C, all within the last 10 years. Well, cumulatively, you have successfully managed a dozen projects over the last decade. Claim it. The bigger, the better. So, what do you need to do here? Well, you need to go job by job, company by company, starting with your most recent experience and heading back. Think about each situation and identify your best achievements for each one. Once you have identified one or more key achievements per job, now you need to describe each of them in the best possible light, telling the truth with some color without coloring the truth. Begin with action. Action verbs show you in action. Get rid of wording like responsible for managing, which is passive, not active. Replace it with more power, with more action, like instead of responsible for managing, just get on and say managed. Active voice is like saying directed West Coast operations, not have directed. No, directed West Coast operations. Action verbs describe what happened, not so much how it happened. That's what a resume should do as well. Only tell what, which raises the hiring authority's curiosity on how you did what you did. The only way they're going to find out how you did it is to invite you in for an interview. People sometimes get it wrong. They think the purpose of a resume is to sell themselves to the job. Wrong. The purpose of a resume is to sell yourself to the interview. The purpose of the interview is to sell yourself to the job. In the Seeker's Notebook, there's an exhibit of suggested action verbs listed by functions such as management, finance and accounting, marketing and sales, HR, training, technical, etc. Here's one more hint. Vary the verbiage. When you use action words and verbs in your resume, use a variety. Don't keep using the same manage this, or directed this. Use some variety. Some people will ask, well, should you use past or present tense? Use past tense for all jobs. For example, built, developed, directed. The exception is for your current job, assuming you're still working for your present employer. Then that should be present tense. For example, builds, develops, directs. So I start with action, I end with results. Results described a problem solved, a change made. Something happened because of you. Results are described in terms of benefits produced, value added, the payoff. Results can produce either tangible or intangible outcomes. Intangible results are soft items like increased team morale or improved productivity. Tangible results are better and help express kind of the order of magnitude of your accomplishments, which helps hiring authorities see the level of work that you've accomplished. For every intangible result you report on your resume, you should report 2 tangible results. For every intangible, 2 tangible. It's a good ratio. Tangible results are measurable, quantifiable outcomes expressed in terms of dollars For example, increased sales over 100,000 per month. Or number of units, increased sales over 5,000 widgets per month. Or percentage, increased monthly sales over 50%. The good news is you get to choose which way best describes the achievement. For example, let's say you laid off the only other person working in your department. You could say, reduced labor costs by one person. Or you could say, reduced labor costs by 50%. Again, you get to choose the truth packaged in the best color. To help you turn intangible results into tangible results, challenge yourself by asking, so what? Until you're able to produce a tangible result. For example, let's say you claim develop new procedures for operations. That's it. Right now, that's a intangible result. Develop new procedures for operations. So what? Well, by following the new procedures, productivity picked up. So what? Well, we were able to produce the same quality with less effort. So what? Well, over time, we didn't need as many people working on the same jobs. So what? Well, we were able to reduce labor costs by 20%. Hey, a tangible result. So what? Well, that's what cost me my job. Yeah, but you finally got that tangible result. Reduced labor costs by 20%. Put it all together, develop new procedures for operations that reduce labor costs by 20%. That makes a difference. Now, some of you are more methodical types who are highly analytical, will be challenged here. You'll be thinking, but I don't know the exact number to use. Well, for you, we suggest the con swag. Con swag. Let's break that down a little bit. The wag part of that is a wild assessed guess. What did you think I was going to say? A wild assessed guess. Wag. But the S part of that, the swag, is either a systematic wild assessed guess or a scientific wild assessed guess. The concept here is I'm got some methodology, some analytics associated with how I came up with the number. Came up with the number as a wild assessed guess, but there was some rhyme or reason behind it, which is what made a wag turn into a swag. But then the word was conswag. What's the con part of that? It stands for conservative. We want to be humble in our boasting. We want to give a conservative, systematic, wild assessed guess. If I don't know the exact number, there's two people sitting there in an interview. Who's going to be more knowledgeable about what that number is? You or the person interviewing you? It's going to be you. And that means you're the best source to take a guess, not any guess, but a well thought out guess. And if you need be a little bit conservative when you throw the number out. Maybe you could say you reduce labor costs by 30%, but you'll be a little bit more conservative and say just 20%. If they ask you, how do you know that? You'll have a systematic way or an analytical way of explaining it to them. And consequently, you'll come off looking like a champ. Finally, and this is important, you have your list of best achievements and you have your list of best attributes. Let's marry the two lists together and let's match the attributes to specific achievements. If you claim to be a pioneering leader, then which one of your achievements best proves the point? If you claim that you improved customer satisfaction to 98%, which of your attributes best anchors this achievement? Now, you may find an attribute that really doesn't match with any achievement. If that's the case, you might really want to rethink that one. Either come up with an achievement or drop it. There's no sense in putting down an attribute, telling somebody who you are, describing who you are, and then when they challenge that attribute, you've got no backup, you've got no proof. That's what achievements are there for, to prove the attributes are true. Once married up, you should have 5 to 10 couples. Then sort them from most important to least, not from your point of view, but from the perspective of the hiring authority. And then this list can be used in many places. It can be used in resumes. We'll talk later about the hierarchical style. It can be used in interviews. For instance, if somebody asks you, what are your strengths? Strengths, attributes, they're one and the same. Can also be used in reference lists. If you want to know about this particular attribute, you will want to talk to this reference that I'm giving you about my performance at old company. We'll talk about each of these a little bit later on. The career transition workshop's methodology is really well integrated process, like a well-designed advertising campaign. Get a simple message and repeat it over and over and over again, and you will favorably influence the hiring decision. Let's talk a minute about prospective resumes. You need to develop a prospective resume. Most people write a retrospective resume, where they look backward and simply regurgitate their past. It is like driving a car while only looking in the rearview mirror. It can be done, but it's not necessarily the best way. A prospective resume looks to the future, aims right at your focal point. It gathers up all of your work that is relevant to that focal point and ties it all together to make a powerful case. I'm ready for that job. It suggests to the hiring authority that your whole life at work has prepared you for this targeted position. Think about the perspective of being prospective. Think about the very process of developing a resume. Basically, you're trying to cram your entire work life into the space of 2 pages or time, 2 minutes provided. It's a formidable task. The Apostle John faced the same challenge when he tried to capsulate the life of Jesus Christ into 21 chapters. He ends his gospel with these words. Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. Therefore, by choice, you have to drop some important things, just like John did. But which things? Leave out anything that is not relevant. Listen to this important principle. There are some things in your life that may be important, but are irrelevant. Therefore, every aspect of the resume must be relevant. Relevant to what? Must be relevant and point forward to your focal point. Now you understand even more about the importance of having a singular direction, a focal point to target your job search, because your resume must be relevant to that focal point. There's no such thing as a generic resume that works. Now we're going to give you our opinion on resumes. During your job search, we won't be the only ones to give you their opinion on resumes. You know, everyone has one. So whose opinion is right? What advice is right for you? What makes the perfect resume? Advice should be based upon a proven rationale. If someone offers a different idea, ask for their rationale. In other words, ask them why. Why, from a hiring authority's perspective, will their idea make your resume better? That's what we're going to do here at the Career Transition Workshop. Tell you why resumes will be better if you follow the ideas we're offering. Here is what we believe. The perfect resume is the one you believe will sell your socks off. Ultimately, you're the judge that your resume is done and is perfect in helping you open doors and sell yourself when you're not there.